Hello, my name's Jocelyn. You found my teaching website. This is Scofield Studio. This is my channel. This video is just a talking video. It's about how to find a teacher and what to look for. If I was just starting to take lessons and I hadn't taken lessons before, I would, wherever I am, I would look within a 30-mile or 30-minute radius of the teachers available. I would look at community music schools. I would look at community colleges. I would look at universities. Most of the time, university professors that teach voice also teach on the side. I would look at singers in the area that maybe are professional singers that have their own vocal studio. Also at people that went to school for either vocal performance or vocal music education. If you're studying with a teacher that performs live and has a teaching studio and has a degree in either vocal performance or vocal music education, those are three really good things that probably mean they are a good teacher, because if they have their own studio, chances are they teach a lot. The more you teach, the better you get at teaching. If they're performing, they have a really realistic view of what it's like to be a performer, what you're encountering in live performances versus when you're just practicing at home. And they are in the business. So it really doesn't matter if you want to be a professional singer. It's just good to have a teacher that has that education. Let's say you have a list of like 8 teachers in your area. I would look at their websites. Hopefully they have some sort of website, and I would listen to them sing. A teacher doesn't have to be like the best singer ever, but they need to have solid technique, so they need to be pretty good. So when you listen to them, you should be like, wow, they have a great voice. If they don't have a great voice, it doesn't necessarily mean they're a bad teacher, but if they don't have a good, solid voice, they may not have great technique. And if they're teaching you, most teachers teach their technique. So if they're teaching you their technique, and they don't have great technique, you might not get good technique either. Now, if your technique is already pretty solid, you might not need that. I've seen that situation where a student or a singer goes to a teacher for one specific thing and kind of ignores the rest. But if you're just starting, I would err on the side of you love their voice and they have experience. So let's say out of the 8, you break it down to like 3 or 4 that you're like, wow, I like their voice. They seem responsible, like they have a studio together, they teach regularly, they're not going to cancel on you all the time. Then I would do a lesson with each one of the teachers. I would probably do an hour. If you're over the age of like 16, 45 minutes goes by really, really fast. So I'd say do an hour. Unless you're really on a tight budget, then do 45 minutes and just explain like, hey, I can only do 45 minutes, but I want to get a lot done. So then I would do a trial lesson with each one of these teachers. I would do the same length of lesson, and I would probably tell them the same things. Like I would tell them what you want to work on, why you want to take lessons, who your favorite singers are, so they know what direction you want to go in terms of your voice and your technique and tone, and then just try them out. Out of an hour lesson, you should be singing like 45 minutes. Out of a 45 minutes, 30 minutes. When I do a first lesson, I usually test the ear of the singer just so I know what I'm working with in terms of musicianship and ear training. I do an exercise where or 2 exercises where I figure out their voice and figure out what their high notes are and their low notes, so I know their range. Everybody has a slightly different range, so it's good to know where somebody's highs and somebody's lows are. And then usually most people, exercises are designed to show weakness. That's the whole point, is to like look at something in your voice, whether it's like breath or whether it's air control, whether it's tone, and to pinpoint it, look at the weakness and make the weakness stronger. So a lot of people hate doing exercises because they're like, well, I sound so much better when I just sing a song. And most people do. But as a teacher, you want to work on the areas that are weak. You don't want to just like go where it's strong and say, okay, let's just keep doing the strong stuff, but ignore all the stuff that needs improvement. But because of that, because people are usually very self-conscious when they're singing exercises because they're so exposed, I usually save maybe 15 minutes to be like, hey, let's sing a song that you already know that you really like. I'll play the piano, I'll hack through something, and we'll just see what your natural tone is, where you like to put your voice. That can also tell the teacher a lot when it comes to how they manipulate their voice while they're singing a melody, and how that's different from singing an exercise. Sometimes it's actually it's interesting because as a teacher, I think you can pretty much tell somebody's voice in 2 minutes. You know what kind of technique they have, sometimes 30 seconds. You know what areas you could work on. So you could get away with doing a 30-minute lesson for the teacher's sake so they get your voice, but for the student's sake, I would go ahead and do the full lesson so that you get a feeling of what it's like to interact with the teacher. Lessons should be very interactive. It shouldn't be, or at least my lessons, it shouldn't be like I sit here at the piano and I play through a song that you sing and you sing it all the way through, and then we move on to the next song. If you're taking lessons just to sing, that's a great approach, and you should tell your teacher that. Like, hey, I want to get a little bit better, but for the most part, I want to spend this hour just singing a bunch of songs. That's generally not the type of teacher I am. I am a technique teacher. When you make the overall technique better, the singer, no matter what they sing, is going to be better. Whereas if we just sing a song a few times, you're not necessarily going to be a better singer on the next song. So after you do your, let's say your 3 lessons with 3 different teachers, I would pick the one that inspires you the most, that seems to really know what they're doing the most, that is the most efficient, and that you feel the best with, you feel the most comfortable. Singing is really vulnerable, and the more nervous you are during lessons, like not the first or the second, but if you continue to be nervous with a teacher, you're not really going to blossom with them. So I would pick the one that is the most supportive, as well as the other 3 things I just mentioned, because it will give you this space where you can really blossom and become better. Okay, I hope that's helpful. If you're in LA or around LA or want to do Zoom lessons, I teach. But if you're just starting, I would go with an in-person teacher and get the experience first before trying to find a teacher not in your area.